Testing. Hello, everybody. This is Flux Kit. I've been asked to record my alchemy studies, the books we found at the library. So I guess that's what I'm doing now. So I got some of the basics from what I got in the library. I'm not done yet, but I got a lot of the basics and some theories I made. First of all, what is alchemy? Alchemy is basically ancient science, the ancient precursor to science that focuses on matter, energy, changing them into each other. And of course, as with it being a science, there are basic laws you need to follow so you don't fuck up anything. You got the law of equivalent exchange, which is either going to be your best friend or your worst enemy when you're doing this alchemy. Because, basically, it's in order to get something, you need to give something. So, to obtain something, something of equal value must be given. We got the law of natural providence, which is an object can only be transmuted from something of the same material. You need to keep the mass consistent. So, you can't translate plastic into, a living organism. They have to be in the same vein of, the alchemic tree of life, which we'll get to. We got the law of mixed principle, which is one that I've kind of theorized a bit about. This one, I've seen it. It's staying consistent in the books, but it's never been called out. So I just decided, fuck it, it's not a theory anymore. I'm going to make this a law. Because who the hell is going to stop me? But alchemical instructions can be writ in any understood script to whoever is making the transmutation circle. But I'm starting to think that the older the script, the more accurate your circle is going to be. And this could also allow for some pseudosciences to be used, if you use, symbols from other religions and shit. So, the energetic side of alchemy. Then, of course, we have the steps of transmutation, which is going to be comprehension. You got to understand what you're doing. You got to know what your product and what your raw materials are made of so that you're not missing anything, nothing's getting messed up. You're not going to be able to forget anything. It'll just work. If you understand it, you can likely do it. Next is deconstruction, which I'd say that one's pretty simple. You break things down into their, smaller building blocks so that when you get to reconstruction, you can put them back together in the desired shape. So, if you understand, alright, let's say you're underwater and you want to do something to, I don't know, be able to breathe. You can go, okay, I know water is dihydrogen monoxide. There's a piece of hydrogen and two oxygens. So, if I break it, if there are two molecules of, if you got two water molecules, you can break them down into a piece of hydrogen, H2, and you can get two chunks of O2. So for every time you break down the water, you're going to get twice as much oxygen as hydrogen, and you'll be able to use that oxygen to breathe. Then we got this, the alchemical tree of life. I've done a lot of research in the books, but I also tried to search online, and this image is one of the best ones I could find to explain this. But this all starts with this prime material. It goes from top to bottom. I think this prime material is actually nothing, but I'm gonna get to that. That's one of my theories. It'll make more sense in a minute. But once you get to prime material, you're able to split it into Sol Celestis and Nitrum Celestis, which is just celestial salt and celestium niter. What's interesting is the things on the left side of the tree, everything descending from celestial salt is what's known as fixed. They're your more stable elements. They're your more stable creations. While things descending on the right side, things that come from niter are volatile. They're unstable. So, salt then goes into aqua or water, and nitrum goes into air. There are two in-betweens. With the four elements, you got aqua and air. Those are the ones that came first, I believe. And then fire is somewhere in between niter and air, while terra is in between water and salt. And after you get these four elements, you get salt, sulfur, and I believe mercury. Yeah. And this does not mean like salt, mercury, and sulfur. We're going to see later that salt often represents the body, mercury represents the mind, and sulfur is like the element for the soul. So when we read it like this, don't read it as like, okay, this is salt, this is mercury, and this is sulfur. Read it like mind, body, soul. Because when you mix these three, you can get the three kingdoms of life, as they are called. Of course, we got Mineralia, Vegetabilia, and Animalia. Those ones, I'm pretty sure you can decipher what they are, but think of it like plants, animals, rocks. I wouldn't even say rocks, it's more so the non-living things in life. Just organic things that aren't alive. And the thing is, they all converge at the bottom to form life. I'd say that this is a group. The three kingdoms are not really different. They're all just different parts of life as a whole. Because in order for life to be stable, you need to have all three in the environment. Otherwise, everything is going to fail. And it does make sense with how stable and how volatile they are. Because, like, animals, if you don't got plants, they're going to starve. If they don't got minerals, they're not going to get the nutrients they need. Okay, Vegetabilia. Theoretically, they could live for a bit without animals, but nowadays a lot of them have evolved, so they need the animals to bring them the nutrients. They need our corpses. And then minerals, Yeah, they're pretty stable. They don't really need the others, but the others help them by breaking them down, allowing cycles to continue. And if you want, I actually encourage you to like pause the video if you want to read through the actual text, because I'm just giving a breakdown of what I wrote down. But now we get to the fun stuff. We get to the theorems. The first is the chimera theory. This, you can use living beings as parts of a transmutation. So, using this, you could mix and match creatures. And when a creature is mixed and matched out of two others in alchemy, I think the majority of the text show that it was called a chimera. It's if you use intelligent life as one of the building blocks, then the resulting chimera would be intelligent, but not all memory and ability would stay, but a vast majority would. Though I would not recommend using the chimeras because it's been shown that a lot of them don't really tend to like this new form that you forced them into. And they will often try to escape life. Now, next is homunculi. These are also just theorized. I don't think... This one I'm skeptical of, because... And I'll get into it in a second, but it's gonna be hard to make one, especially because something equivalent must be given. So, yeah, theoretically, you can make, like, a person using alchemy. Like, as some have stated, it is cheap. We are not made of much. You can get, like, $7 worth of material. Like, and, like, what would that be in rings? That would be... So you would only need, like, 20 rings to buy, like, the necessary chemicals to make a human. Or, I think a Mobian would be slightly less. But either way, there's one thing stopping this. That first law. What is a worth of a life? Because the soul, it's not an object. It's the energy that fuels us. So, our main problem is we do not know what that's worth. What is the worth of a life? But this one, the next theory, is one that I spent the majority of my time with. This is the one that is interests me the most. This is the egregore theory. So, just like you got homunculi and chimeras that can be made with alchemy, egregores are born of just thought. If you think about something, like, it's put a lot of thought into it, that new idea is technically an entity. Think of it like, cool, you got, like, characters, from TV shows. They don't really exist, but that thought of them, that standard thought, is technically its own entity. And some of them could be quote-unquote alive. We'll get into that, but just like other systems like religion or government or alchemy itself, the only power that it has is given to it through belief. So, if you know what you're doing, like, if you get enough people to believe it, you could probably make something. I think alchemy could be used to guide this, but I will need to spend more research. Because theoretically, we could use this to bring back Surge's memory, but I don't know. There has to be something else to help this. But these egregores, sometimes it's more than just a thought. Sometimes they manifest into a physical entity. And, like, these have been found in, like, if people try to fake that a place is haunted, but then if enough people believe it's haunted, things are going to happen. There will be these egregores that think they are demons because that is what everyone around them believes. Belief is such a weird concept. It runs everything. But at the same time, it's nothing. Thought is such a weird concept. It's powerful, but at the same time, it's hard to imagine it all. But as I was saying, these egregores can be false constants. All right. So, if you get enough people to believe something, it could become true. But it's rare. I'd say only things that are plausible could become this. And we won't know if something is originally an egregore or if it's just something that has existed. This belief is a lot deeper than we think. Belief itself is something that's, I wouldn't say all-powerful, but it's something that can absolutely affect everything. And some egregores, as I was saying, can manifest. They could manifest into actual entities. But they're not going to be like physical things you can touch, like you and me. They're going to be energy. They're going to be this conscious energy, almost like a soul. And given that it is energy, they could interact with physical objects and affect the nature of other things. It's a lot to think about, but this egregore theory could be very important as we go through alchemy. Although this theorem, this is the one that I think I'm going to use the most. We'll get into this little symbol down here. But back at that tree, the prima materia, what everything was originally made of, the derivative of everything. I think it is nothing. Like, before universes formed, there was just nothing. But then, of course, we think that Big Bangs are what caused universes to form. So it's something coming from nothing. And the vacuum. Vacuum is a liquid. This is the nothing we talk about when we talk about the vacuum of space. It's not matter, it's not energy, it's nothing. But at the same time, it is the most prominent resource in the universe. Over 99.9% of any space is filled with vacuum. It is vacuum fluid that flows between atoms. It's hard to think about, but it is everywhere, but it is nothing at the same time. But I think this is the prime material. Because back in the old alchemy days, when you got, like, the kings and shit, they called it aether. And they got pretty spot on for their lack of knowledge. The symbol for quintessence, which I'm going to use for aether, is I like to call it flux. This symbol on the left here, this is the fifth element. This is our building block. Now, they used to use the hexagram as the symbol for Aether, but I don't think that's right. It has been used as a symbol for matter as well, but the hexagram, that is matter itself. It is the broad term. So we got flux, which is the building block for everything, and then we have everything. The hexagram is just going to be a. It's just. How would I say? It's, Think of it as a Lego brick. Flux is the actual studs, it's the bricks that make everything up. But the hexagram is Lego. The hexagram is the concept itself. It is the broad thing that is everything. Hexagram the hexagram can just be used to represent matter in general in an array. Now, I'll get into this probably in a later recording, but an array is like the circles used to execute transmutation. Think of it like a calculator for math. Or like, think of it as the keyboard that allows you to access the computer that is the universe. Well, multiverse. Whatever's above it. But this flux can be used to create energy. Vacuum energy is something that is theorized to exist and likely caused the Big Bang. When electrons and their antimatter counterpart, positrons, when they collide, they go through a process called annihilation. This is where both particles cease to exist, and they get turned into pure energy. And I think I can use this as fuel. This process I call fluxation. You can harness the energy, well, some of the energy that is made from these particles colliding. This nothing producing energy is exactly what I'm going to use to fuel my arrays. Just as transmutation itself requires you to know about it, you have to understand vacuum. You gotta know that it is everything and nothing. It's hard to understand, but after a while, you can start to think of things less literally. The majority of the things in the universe are eldritch. No, I don't mean there's some big scary creature. The original idea behind the term eldritch or eldritch horror is that it is something the mind cannot comprehend. And that is true for the vast majority of everything. We know almost nothing. It is abysmal, the knowledge that we know. Because we cannot see, we cannot comprehend the majority of the things in the universe. We only have descriptions that allow us to break things down into simpler forms. They are not real. If you think about a black hole, you see, like, if you imagine a black hole in your mind, it's like black circle, you got that orange event horizon. In reality, it's nothing. You can't see a black hole. There is nothing there, but there is something there. It's things like this that fill the universe. And realistically, these are the things that I am interested in. If I can find a way to comprehend the incomprehensible, I don't know what I could do. But I know things would be a lot different. And this energy would be infinite. There would be no end to the energy that is flux. But I know that as people, we will never be able to harness it to that extent. We can't turn something into nothing and nothing into something. We can't do that with our technology. And I doubt we ever will be able to. But we can harness a little bit. Just as we do solar power. We can harness this. Just not to a level that will change anything. And I'll probably explain alchemy arrays next time, but there's going to be a lot more. This is just the beginning of everything.